Hey everybody, this is the Fourth here, and welcome to another episode of Tip Tuesday. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about using open chords to help you get that euphoric or uplifting sound in your chord progressions, maybe a little bit more easily. So if I play this track, you'll hear that, I think it has a pretty uplifting, a pretty euphoric sound to it. And a lot of that is caused by just the chord progression I used. So here's how the chord progression sounds on its own. And you can hear it sounds pretty nice. It sounds pretty it's just pleasant to listen to. It's a bit uplifting. And a lot of the reason that I think it's so uplifting is because I've used open chords. And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit here. If you're new to production, if you're new to making chord progressions and all that kind of stuff, then you might kind of usually make your chord progressions kind of like this. So I'm going to do like a 1, 4, 5. So you might be used to just kind of writing your chords like this, very close together with each note, basically as close as you can be for that particular inversion of the chord. And if this is how you write your chord progressions all the time, with this close voicing, then it might be a bit hard to get that euphoric hardstyle sound or uplifting house sound. You might find that using chords like this, your sound tends to be a bit more dark or maybe even sad or something like that, especially when you're using a minor scale. And you might find this a bit weird because a major scale might sound too cheesy. And even the natural minor scale, which is supposed to sound quite pleasant, your chord progression still might sound a bit dark or even sad. And you just might have a hard time getting it to sound uplifting and euphoric. But what you can do is, instead of using chords with the voices all close together like this, you can, typically what I do to, just make basic open chords is I will have my chord progression laid out just basically like this, but then I'll take kind of the center note of each triad and I'll raise it up an octave. So this one goes from C5 up to C6, and this kind of opens up the chord a bit. And you can hear already it kind of has a different character to it. To me, I think it sounds a bit happier. It sounds a bit brighter, not quite as dark. And for me personally, this is a big part of how I actually write, uplifting chord progressions a lot of the time, is I'll use, open voiced chords. So instead of having the voices all really close together, I'll have them, spread out a bit more. Usually it's just kind of like this. Sometimes I might do other stuff, but hopefully you can hear, the difference that makes. So I'm going to go back to this and kind of change the chords so that they're all close instead of open. And you'll hear, you'll hear it sounds quite a bit different. to me, that doesn't really sound sad, but it does sound a lot darker, not as in evil, but just, a bit darker than this. This sounds a lot brighter with the open chords. That sounds a lot brighter, a lot more uplifting. That one, it maybe even sounds a bit melancholy. And that just sounds a whole lot more happy to me. And another thing that using these open chords allows you to do is, you can hear that this sounds a bit low. And some of the voices are kind of not going together well. There's a bit too much low frequencies going on. And opening this up allows more room between kind of the frequencies. And so you don't get that kind of muddiness, I guess, in the low frequencies. So, sometimes you might think the correct solution to this problem, where you have kind of muddiness in the low frequencies, is to raise the chord progression up an octave. But, sometimes that just doesn't sound quite right. And so, if you run into that kind of problem, then I would definitely recommend try out using open chords and see if that kind of fixes it as well. So yeah, just a little tip, especially for you beginners out there who aren't quite familiar with open chords. Hopefully if you're struggling to write those uplifting and euphoric kind of tracks, hopefully this is helpful.